It starts with the heart, our emotions, and it is processed in the mind, and then it is delivered through the voice. All of what we do does not start first in our minds, it starts in our hearts.
You know, the love of God is so amazing, right?
Hello and welcome back. I am happy to be here with you today, and we are now at season 3. So, in season 3, we are going to be looking at the heart, the mind, the voice. And to get us started, I want to actually read a section from this wonderful book that I have here called "The Garden Within" by Dr. Anita Phillips. And there's a section in the book, really early in the book. Um, and I don't know if I'd mentioned this to you guys before, but the voice, if you look at your body, how our body is created, how the Lord created our bodies, it really looks like a garden. And I just think it's totally amazing, right? And in her book, she speaks about the relationship between a seedling and a neuron, and pretty much they look the same. And so this book really captivated my mind, and it really lines up for me in terms of the importance of the voice and how powerful the voice is. So this section here I'm going to speak about is where this is on page 13. If you have this book, if you don't have this book, I encourage you to get a copy of this book and read it. It's really going to make a difference in your life. Um, so it says Jesus tells us that the seeds are words. The fruit represents what we do. What does the ground represent? The ground represents our hearts. And as a result of that, this is coming from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13. And I think chapter 13, verse 18 to 23. And it goes on to say, your heart is the soil where spiritual seeds are planted. Your heart anchors the roots of your mind. Your heart nourishes the fruit you produce, and your heart is the soil of your life. So it goes on to therefore speak about our heart being the spiritual seeds, the roots, the fruit, the soil. It has to do with what is planted, your mind, the production, as a result of that, your life. And when I saw this, immediately one of the things that came to me was the voice. And I want to share with you, moving on, or not moving on, really building on this particular concept and this particular context, that it starts with the heart, our emotions, and it is processed in the mind, and then it is delivered through the voice. All of what we do does not start first in our minds, it starts in our hearts. And as a result of that, because remember again, if I go back here, I should have marked this page, but I didn't. Your heart is the soil where spiritual seeds are planted. Your heart, you remember one of the things I would have said in the last podcast, which was um, the things that we say about ourselves. Your heart is the soil where spiritual seeds are planted. Your heart anchors the roots of your mind. Your heart nourishes the fruit you produce. Again, not your mind, your heart. And your heart is the soil of your life. Therefore, it starts with our hearts. It is processed in our minds, and it is delivered through our voices. Yeah, let us sit for a little bit. It starts in our hearts. It is processed in our minds, and it is delivered through our voices. So that's why, so the end result comes back down to what it is we are saying about ourselves, about our situations, etc. And if you do, just like the diaphragm is connected to itself, it is therefore very similar, because if you with the heart, the mind, and the voice, therefore when you speak it, it therefore goes back in your mind and what you're thinking, and then it starts to shift or change our heart position. So it's not a one-way street, it's actually a two-way street. So it has to start first. So therefore, what we with little children, what the seeds that we plant in them from very young makes a very, very, very big difference in the types of directions and the decisions that they make. The environments that we place them in makes a huge, huge difference, because therefore, if you put a child in the wrong environment too early, it's going to have negative fruit. Sometimes people are rescued because somebody may be able to say, come with me, I'll show you different. And that's what we need a lot of. And I just pray that, and you guys listening to this podcast, that you will start to see that it is not just the thing that comes out of our mouths. It starts with our hearts, our minds, our voices. When we speak it, therefore, we start to think it, and then it starts to shift how we think about in our hearts about circumstances that we are in. And we can change that. It doesn't, the thing that comes out on the end, we can change it if we want it to be positive or if we want it to be negative. We have the power to do it, right? And so I want you to think on this today, of those things of which, we spend a lot of time talking about the mind. I mean, the Bible does say, yes, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And that's important, because that's the voice. And he also says there is life and death in the power of the tongue, right? But our hearts, oh my gosh, our hearts, our hearts, our hearts, our hearts, our hearts, where all the emotions live, that sometimes we want to run away from. Your heart is the soil where spiritual seeds are planted. It's that word that you got years ago, that every single time you go through some type of difficult situation, that word keeps coming back. Like Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. That's the Bible verse that so many of us have learned from primary school, you know, that when we are having difficult times, sometimes we remember that, or even sometimes in good times, you just remember that verse, because it's where spiritual seeds are planted. It helps shape our characters. Your heart anchors the roots of your mind. Your heart anchors the roots of your mind. And your heart nourishes the fruit you produce. And if we look at it in terms of what I was sharing here, your heart nourishes the fruit you produce, the fruit, what you say. Your heart is the soil of your life. So, guys, remember the book is The Garden Within by Dr. Anita Phillips. And today we were looking at the heart, the mind, the voice. The heart, it starts with the heart. It is processed in the mind, and it is delivered, as she rightfully said, or produced through the voice. So whatever you do today, I ask that you take some time to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And that's our verse, Matthew 6, chapter 6, verse 33. And I pray that this word is going to be an encouragement for you today, until we see each other next time. Bye-bye.